John Saunders.
Okay.
Hey.
The first got Herman. How you doing?
Now, the last time we did this, I said Jonathan, but you're like, no, it's not John. It's just John D. Saunders.
Yes.
Okay. So, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
How's your wine?
It's great, man. This is phenomenal.
We're drinking, I believe the, I don't know if the producer is Gigondas. Hell,
it's a good accent.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I know it just enough. Appellation Gigondas. Yeah, somebody will connect me on that. But it's a nice French wine, probably Rhone Valley. We've had this is the fourth bottle that we've had. Not that you and I have had 4 bottles, but a number of us have been enjoying wine as we had tacos today. John, great to have you here.
Cheers.
Thank you. You're on deck.
Thank you.
Today is
Salud.
Today's Wednesday, December 22nd.
Yes. Put this on vibrate.
So we are in the final countdown to Christmas.
Yes.
What better way to spend the day than to have some lunch, drink some wine, talk about all kinds of stuff. And so just so everybody knows, so you don't like fast forward, the main thing we want to talk about today is NFTs, blockchain, and crypto.
Let's do it.
And the Miami market. But before we do that, we're talking about watches. we got started on watches. So I'm wearing my dad's hand-me-down, passed on IWC
Beautiful
Porsche
time
design.
PCL, by the way.
I believe this is a 39 millimeter case. Classic watch. Really enjoy it. It's the only nice watch I own. My other watch is a Garmin, which I must say really suits me well. But that's not where we left off before we started. We were talking about Rolex. So
we were.
Let's pick up there.
Okay.
You are at the point in your life where you're thinking about investing in a timepiece.
Yes.
And for anybody watching, and any of you watching or listening that know, Rolexes are tough to come by right now. New Rolex, you can't touch a new Rolex.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't know if you've actually been to like Aventura Mall and gone into Mayors or any of these places. They have a few models on display, but
you can't. Yeah.
You can't buy them.
No, it's crazy.
They are swept up and gone.
The watches, the luxury brand watch market it's crazy right now. I was at Aventura Mall 2 days ago because I picked up a Cartier for my wife for Christmas. Yeah, Tank. First, like, yeah. But my biggest thing is I didn't realize that, you come up and you see watches and Rolexes and all these different brands, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. They got the bust down, meaning it's like diamonds embezzled and all these different things in. But a watch can really be an investment because you can purchase a watch from the factory. You have the papers, you have your receipts. And that can almost be like an heirloom in your family that increases as the years go by, and one of the brands that I saw really increases, you have Cartier, which, they pronounce it in French. And then you have Rolex, IWC, these watch brands, they increase in value over time. And it's something that you can have for 10 or 15 years and be like, hey, here you go, son, or here you go, daughter, here's my watch that I've had. And you can pass it on to your kids and so forth. And it's almost like real estate, it just increases as time goes.
Well, and so you touched on a couple of brands. So I would like to use this as an opportunity to introduce you to a couple of different brands and a couple of different thought processes. Okay. Everybody knows Rolex, and there's a reason why. It's not just it's not hype. I mean, Rolex watches are fantastic timepieces, classic watches. Many of them what you would call a tool watch, meaning like the Submariner is a tool watch because it's a dive watch. The Daytona is a tool watch because it has a multiple timing functions. The Yacht Master is a tool watch. The Explorer, which I really have grown to love, tool watch. Milgauss, not really a tool watch, but still sort of tied to a particular industry. Yeah. The Sea Dweller, tool watch, right? And what I mean by tool watch, the Sky Dweller. The GMT, which, I guess you could call it a tool watch to some degree. There's something about the Rolex brand that it's just, right?
It's like, yeah. I don't know what it is.
But because they're great watches, the movements are excellent, the quality, the craftsmanship, the consistency year in and year out of that brand has been phenomenal. And as you mentioned, you were just in Aventura Mall. If you go into any jewelry shop right now and look for a Rolex, A, you're not going to find one. B, if you want a new one, you're probably going to be on a wait list for about 2 years.
That long? Wow.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, if you want a Rolex, you're buying a pre-owned one.
Wow.
Just know that, right? But just know that the stainless steel Submariner with the black dial and the black bezel. Classic watch that new, I want to say, is a $7,500 watch. You're going to pay $12,000, $13,000 for pre-owned right now.
Wow. Pre-owned, wow.
Yes. The Explorer, which I really have grown to like because I find it's clean, it's simple. I like that it's got the GMT, it's got the 24-hour bezel, and it's got the dual time, right, which I like.
Wow.
Because I travel to Russia with my wife. So I like the 24-hour thing, and I like the dual time zone. And there's something that I like about the Explorer more than the GMT. Now, the GMT you've heard referred to as the Pepsi.
Yes.
It's got the red and blue.
Yes.
Or the Batman, black and blue.
Exactly.
Really killer watch, but for me, it's got a little bit too much going on. That if you wear it with like a suit, it
doesn't have that minimal look.
It's a little bit much. So I like the Explorer, and I also like the fact that the Explorer that just came out, it's the 50th anniversary. The first one came out in 71. That's the year I was born.
Wow.
So I just turned 50. So to me, there's like I feel like
50,
it's 50,
man. You don't look like you're over 40, man.
Thank you, John. But that watch for me right now, just an everyday wearing tool watch. But that watch new, I want to say, is 8 or 9, and a pre-owned one right now is going to cost you 15.
Oh man, wow!
Forget the Daytona, a stainless Daytona, which new is I think is 11 or 12 grand watch, and you're going to pay 30 up on that watch right now. And it's kind of crazy. And just bear with me because I'm going to hone in on our topic. But you've got us talking about watches, so it's like fuck it, we'll go here.
Of course.
There's a couple things that are crazy. Number one, the demand is super crazy high. Number two, as a result of inflation, the prices of luxury goods have gone up. Mm-hmm. Number three, Rolex knows that they are creating brand equity by limiting production and making people scramble to get them. Mm-hmm. Right now. When you go to Mayors in the Aventura Mall and you talk to the sales representatives in the Rolex department, you go, it's kind of fucked up, right? Like, you got no watches. How are you supposed to make a living? And they're like, yeah, I know, right? And I don't get the sense that the people working in stores selling Rolexes are that happy. Now, let's talk a couple of other brands because you mentioned Cartier.
Yes, let's do that.
Cartier is what you would refer to as a jeweler watch, like a jewel watch, mm-hmm. right? Cartier is not technically a
everyday.
It's not a Swiss watch brand.
Exactly.
Now, there is no watch aficionado that I know of that would shit on a Cartier watch. The Cartier watches are beautiful, they have value, and they maintain value, but it's more of a jewelry watch, right? And that's why the Cartier Tank 100%. And women, it's a really nice watch, and for men as well too. But when you start getting into the world of watches, of course, Rolex is like a standard.
That's
now,
if
you want to drop a little bit below Rolex but still have the quality, mm-hmm. there's nothing wrong with a Tudor, which is Rolex's sister company. Okay. So a Tudor is, in all intents and purposes, a Rolex. It's just not a Rolex, right? That's like their sub-brand.
I didn't know that was their sister company.
Yeah, Tudor is a sub-brand of Rolex.
Huh.
Great watches. Great watches, right? Like the Tudor Black Bay, which is basically their Submariner, is a fantastic watch. The Tudor GMT is a fantastic watch.
I had no idea you were like a watch like aficionado.
I don't know.
I should have known this though.
I'm gonna roll at you, and you make your own determinations, right? Because now you got me excited. So one of my favorite dive watches. Okay. In fact, if I had to choose between a Rolex Submariner and the Tudor Pelagos, I'd take a Tudor Pelagos. Tudor Pelagos is probably a $4,500 to $5,000 watch, titanium, crazy blue dial with blue bezel. I think it's a fucking fantastically beautiful watch that you can buy.
So you can get one brand new right now.
Yes, you can. A Tudor Pelagos. But it's not something you can wear every day with every outfit because it's really blue. Like it's like as bright blue as this light right there.
Got it.
It's really blue. So you got Tudor.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned IWC, which is a really nice watch, a really great watch company. Some affordable watches in the IWC. You've got the Pilot watches, which I'm sure you've seen. They're a little bit larger. They got a blue dial.
Yes, I've seen
brown
those.
leather strap. Okay, that's the IWC Pilot. Then they have a watch called the Portugueser. I may not be pronouncing it right, but Portugueser, which is a little bit more of an elegant watch that has a couple dials on the face. Very beautiful watch. You're going to be in the $7 to $11,000 range on that. But that's a little bit more of a dress watch. It's going to have a leather band.
Leather band, yeah.
Beautiful. So IWC is great.
What are your thoughts on like Omega?
Omegas are great watches.
Okay.
In fact, but I don't like them. I guess that's what I should say.
Aesthetically, like they're.
You know, I've spent a lot of time looking at Omegas, the Seamaster. You know, you've got the Seamaster. You've got, what's the one that they took to the moon? I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's one of their classic watches. And there's something about them aesthetically that I just, as much as I want to love that brand, I don't dig it. Now, so you've got, you got Tudor, you got Rolex, you got IWC. You've got Omega.
Okay.
And Omegas are great watches. They're almost as good, if not as good as Rolexes, but just not quite the panache. But there's something about the starkness of a Rolex that I really like. When you look at a Rolex, there's nothing that needs.
You can see a Rolex from like across the street and know it's a Rolex. It's just very distinct.
Exactly.
Like anytime you see someone on TV or a show, it just has a specific look.
It's clear.
Yeah.
What are some other brands in the price range? Okay, now there's Breitling. Breitling makes a lot of great watches.
They're a little flashy.
I don't care for them because they tie themselves a little bit more to the aeronautical.
Yeah.
Like their brand is tied in with aeronautics a little bit much, and a lot of the Navitimer and stuff. There's so much shit going on that watch that I wouldn't use. That's another thing. Like some people like, for example, some people like a Rolex Yachtmaster. Okay, the Yachtmaster has a lot of complications on the dial.
That's the one with all the different chronograph.
No, that's the Daytona.
Oh, okay, that's the Daytona. Got it.
Which is this is a chronograph, and a chronograph. I don't know the specifics, but basically it allows you to time, stop, and start, like when you're watching race cars. Right? The Yachtmaster has a lot of other complications that help you with actually navigating and timing things at sea. Most people who wear a Yachtmaster are not out sailing a yacht. They just love the watch, right? For me, if I'm going to have a watch, if it's going to have complications, and that's what they refer to as the individual little things that are happening, I want to feel like I'm using them, right? Exactly. So I've got a chronograph. This is the IWC Porsche watch. It's a chronograph. Like if I want to stop, start, time, lap timing and stuff with race cars, I got it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't want a Daytona but they're tough to come by. So, where was I? I'm sorry. I'm doing a
You were talking
shit
about
ton
the
of
top
talking.
watch brands.
Yeah. So
my question would be: this is one thing that I struggle with. Do you feel like anyone in business, you're an entrepreneur, an executive, do you think you should invest in a quality watch because it positions you with some type of status symbol? It shows, okay, this guy or gal is doing well. I can appreciate them, and I want to build a business relationship with them. Do you think it's important?
Okay, so I'm older than you, and my answer to that question is yes. You know,
as my mentor, that's pretty much the.
And the reason that I say that, okay, I see an Apple Watch.
Yes.
So I know I'm dealing with a tech guy, right? Like seriously, like I know I'm dealing with like an internet-y kind of tech guy, right? And I've had an Apple Watch. It was a great watch. Like I said, I have a Garmin watch. To me, a Garmin says you're into fitness. Garmin is a fitness watch, right? Sends a message. This watch, I don't know that it sends any message except for the people that know what it is, right? It's not a particularly expensive watch, but it's got a cool vintage quality, and it has historical meaning to me. But this watch, this is not a hitter watch. Like I don't show up and people are like, bam. And not that you're trying to do that, but I think the understated power of a watch is impressive. So let's go through that, right? So clearly a good solid Rolex, it sends a message, right?
It does.
Now, maybe it sends the wrong message to some people. Some people might look at a Rolex and be like, Rolex, that's douchey, right? But I think when you're operating with people who are successful and who have made some money and who have started to open their horizons, meaning that they've traveled, they've eaten at fine restaurants, they know the difference between a nice glass of wine and a non-nice glass of wine. They know the difference between a good bourbon and a not good bourbon. They know the difference between a nice watch and a not nice watch. Okay? Is that important in the grand scheme of the universe? No. But in the world of interacting with people,
it's helpful.
There are certain things that say it's appropriate for me to be at this table with you, right?
Oh, wow. We should write that quote down. No, I agree 100%. 100%, because even in me doing meetings with clients and meeting with people, it's not like you're trying to show off, but it's trying to show like, hey, I'm doing well. I want you to know that if you work with us, you're going to do well as well. So it's almost like, okay, this isn't his first day at the rodeo. Like, he does this type of work. It's like almost like an unsaid connection. I don't know how to put it, but
you're saying something without saying something. And so, but I think that there's varying degrees of that. Okay, the Rolex is the most obvious. That doesn't take away from the quality of it. Listen, like if you were to say, Chris, right now, what watch would you have on your wrist right now? Like, I would say it's a Rolex Explorer, and I, at some point in time, I'll have one. To me, that's going to be my day-to-day, just every day banging around watch, right? Now, that watch doesn't say a lot. It just says, man, the guy's got a solidly good watch.
Exactly.
But it's not. I'm not making a grand statement with it, right? There's not a lot of flash there. And so there are watches in the, let's call it the $5,000 to $15,000 range that send various messages, right? So Rolex is the most obvious. We know that Tudor is like the sub-brand of Rolex. We know that you got Breitling, which to me that's got its own connotation. IWC has its own connotation. Now, the brand that starts to get you into a little bit more of like the watch geekery in this price range, in my opinion, is JLC. That's Jaeger LeCoultre. Okay,
oh, wow. Yeah,
it's a Swiss brand.
Wow.
JLC, and if you looked at it, it would be pronounced like Jaeger LeCoultre. Jaeger LeCoultre, or I think a lot of people just call it JLC. There's a lot of people that say that this is the watchmaker's watch, right? Like,
got it.
Because it employs all of the fine craft of Swiss watchmaking. The quality is excellent. The movements are in-house, meaning that they create the movement. It's in-house because not every watch brand creates their movements. A lot of watch brands use other companies' movements, but JLC and Rolex use their own movement.
Wow.
But JLC creates their own movements. They have beautiful watches. Some of the famous ones are called the Reverso. It's a square that you can actually like flip it. If you ever go to the Miami Design District, in the Design District area, there's a little area where all the watch stores are.
Got it.
JLC, and they're beautiful watches.
Wow.
And they go from $5,000 for a very simple dial, time, maybe with date, leather band or leather strap watch, up to a couple $100,000 watches with what's called a tourbillon.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with tourbillon. That's that little crazy fucking contraption.
With the little circle and the thing going around.
Yeah, it's like a little ball in there.
It's
that
crazy.
You're just like, what's going on there? So JLC is a beautiful watch brand that if you really were like wanting to make I know what I'm doing, I didn't spend crazy money, but I know what I'm doing, I would almost argue that a JLC says more than a Rolex.
Wow, okay.
But for a day-to-day wear, I would choose a Rolex because I want to be able to bang it around.
Exactly.
Right. So you got JLC.
So what do you think about the big kind of $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 watches? I don't know if those considered big.
Let's talk about those brands.
Hublot, you've got you listen to Nardine. I guess those are going for around 30, right?
What, a Hublot?
No, Hublot, and then Ulysse Nardine, which is another like...
Ulysse Nardine.
Yes.
And I don't know how to pronounce that well, and I don't know much about that brand. So, but what the realm that you're starting to step into, okay, You're starting to step into Patek.
Yes.
Patek Philippe.
Patek Philippe. Yep.
You're stepping
Audemars.
into Audemars Piguet. And you're stepping into A. Lange & Söhne, which is a German brand.
Yeah, that one.
And that's probably it. I think, even though Hublot, or Hublot, however you want to pronounce it, I think that they sort of have a panache amongst like sports stars and rappers.
They're not that attractive watches to me.
And I don't think real watch people value that brand. I think they see that brand as a little bit like, it's a little gauche.
And I don't know if the right decision for, you know, a lot of these folks in like the entertainment business, when they bust down or add diamonds and alter the watch, because now you're taking away from the manufacturer and it's losing it. I mean, you're putting diamonds in it, but it's essentially losing its value, right? Because it's not how it came out of the box. And I was watching, what is it called? Roadshow. I forgot the name of the show.
Antique Roadshow?
Antique Roadshow. This guy had a Paul Newman Daytona.
Well.
I mean, I think he got like $250,000 or $300,000 for the watch or something. And it was like, literally had its papers, had the receipt, everything like intact. It was just insane.
I listen, everybody's taste and style is different. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes a Rolex encrusted in diamonds on the bezel, okay, if that's your thing,
do your thing.
Do your thing, right? I don't know that that's where the real value lies in great watches. Like, if you're gonna spend $100,000 on a blinged out Rolex, you could spend $100,000 on an Audemars or a Patek and get a serious fucking watch, right? So and Hublot, I think, kind of falls into the same realm. And I'm not shitting on it. Listen, if you dig it, at the end of the day, whatever you like is what you like, right? That's whatever is of value to you. From my opinion, Hublot is not a brand that I would really attach to. The big ones, again, Rolex is a big one, of course, but Patek Philippe, I mean, it would be hard to argue against the fact that those watches are not some of the finest watches made. I mean, if you talk like a Patek Philippe Perpetual, which if I recall correctly, like a Perpetual not only keeps the time down to the microsecond, it keeps the date, it keeps the month, it keeps the year.
My favorite watch of all time is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual. That's like my favorite watch. I mean, I'm not at that level yet, but that's the...
And that's the beautiful thing about it, is they all possess like a different beauty to them. But like the hitter watches, Audemars, the Patek, and I'm forgetting like the core classic models right off the top of my head, but I know them. But those are beautiful watches. Now for me, I love the brand A. Lange & Söhne, being the fact that I am of German heritage. A. Lange & Söhne, because most of the big watchmakers or the big houses are from Switzerland, right? A. Lange & Söhne is the only really big house that is from Germany. They're from a city called Glashütte, and they make, I think, beautiful watches. And that would be my, and I'll show you pictures later.
Yeah, I gotta see it.
And if we were doing the damn laptop thing, we could have brought it up right now. Which we have this plug right here. We'll get there. So the A. Lange & Söhne is a beautiful, to me that's a fucking, but it's not a sporty watch. Like if you got like a Patek, and I can't remember the name of like the main metal like Patek, which is like $100K easily.
Wow.
A. Lange & Söhne is more of like a leather band, beautiful, classic, gorgeous watch with very interesting styling on the dial. They do have a brand in that city though, called Glashütte, and they make a watch. It's former watchmakers from A. Lange & Söhne who created this new company called Glashütte. Of course, they both operate in the same town, basically across the street from each other.
Okay.
And Glashütte makes watches that are similar to A. Lange & Söhne, but they're at a price point that you can, a little bit more tolerable. Like a really nice Glashütte Panamatic Lunar is probably 10 to 12 grand. Where the corresponding A. Lange & Söhne is a minimum of 25.
Got it.
And up.
Got it. Wow. It all comes down to that value. Creating that value.
The most important thing is it comes down to
and the product.
What are you wearing, and when you look at it every day, and does it feel right? Does it look right? Are you comfortable in it?
Exactly.
Is it appropriate with what you're wearing? You know, can you get some? Can you wear it with jeans and a t-shirt? Can you wear it dressed up with a jacket and a nice shirt? You know,
that's why Rolex is so iconic, because
right.
A lot of guys or gals, they might wear jeans and a t-shirt. Now you have your outfit that, you got a Goodfellow shirt for $7 from Target. You got your jeans, and you look great. You got some nice sneakers, but you add that Rolex, and it's like icing on the cake. Now, okay, this gal is doing their thing. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing, where if initially someone looks at you and they're able to see that, they could say, okay, I know this person's doing their thing, and I'm going to collaborate and work with them.
Right. It's interesting, because the question is, who assigns the value? Meaning that what you're talking about, does the person looking at us really think what we think?
That's a good question.
Or are we just thinking they think
conundrum.
that? Or are we just thinking, is it just about what you enjoy? And I think at the end of the day, it first needs to be about what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to make a statement,
exactly,
but it feels inauthentic to yourself, then what the fuck are you doing, right? Why?
That's the question.
Like, if you feel great wearing an Apple Watch and it does what you need it to do, and nobody would argue. Listen, an Apple Watch tells better time than any timepiece.
I mean, it's real.
Right?
True.
It does more shit. I mean, I still, when I'm not wearing my Garmin and my phone rings or I get an email and I hear the ding, I still look at my wristwatch. I'm so trained by the Garmin, knowing that the notification was going to come up on my phone, that when I'm not wearing the Garmin, I still look. Because I'm like, where's my...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not wearing the Garmin.
Sometimes I feel like the Apple Watch, though, it's a little bit too much connectivity.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like you're trained. Like, anytime you hear the vibrate, you just got to flip and see what's going on. You know what I mean? As opposed to if you're wearing like a timepiece and your watch is in another room, you can sit back and relax and enjoy a moment.
Right.
But if my Apple Watch goes off, okay, let me check Slack. Let me check my messages.
Right.
And for my Apple Watch, I have most of my notifications turned off. The only ones I have on are like if I get a call, something going on with Chase, I might get a notification. That's pretty much it. Everything else is off, because I feel like it takes you out of the moment. When you have just a normal timepiece, I can check the time and I can go back to what I'm doing. And I think that's what we're going to get back to, because people say, oh, well, smartwatches are going to take over normal watches. I don't think so. And even if they do, then the value will truly increase with timepieces, because now you'll have limited releases. It'll just become this whole big thing.
Mm-hmm. And ask yourself, okay, maybe it's not this year, but maybe it's next year. You continue to be a successful entrepreneur, and you're invited to the New Year's gala ball at the Biltmore, whatever, right? And you got your tuxedo, not a rented tuxedo. I mean, like, you own a tuxedo, and it's fucking dialed, right?
I'm picturing it.
Right? Your wife looks beautiful. She's wearing a beautiful gown. She's got the right jewelry on. You've got your tuxedo. You're dialed. Do you have an Apple Watch on your wrist? Do you?
You don't.
No fucking
That's so funny.
way.
It's so funny you say that, because we went to a wedding, my buddy's wedding, like 3 or 4 months ago, and my wife, she had a nice dress on. She looked great. And then she's got her Apple Watch. She's like, I can't wear it. That's what made me think about, okay, well, for Christmas, I'll get her a Cartier. That way she could wear that with the event. Boom. Now she's got the complete outfit. But you're right. You're 100% right. That's the goal.
Everything has its place. Day to day, sneakers, jeans, T-shirt, Apple Watch, Garmin Watch. Great, man. You're doing your thing. You're working.
So true.
But in certain environments, you want to have something.
You do?
And I don't even have it right now. Like, I don't. Like, I've spent all my money on guitars and all kinds of other shit. I got enough guitars here to have every watch. Not every watch. But, I could own the watch.
The things that we'll spend.
I could have had the watch, the ideal watch. I could have had my number one watch for what I've spent in guitars over the years. But I wasn't there. Guitars were more important to me. Right?
Exactly.
So here we are.
There it is.
Speaking of which, let's just give a quick shout out to Mr. Brad Granda, who for Christmas.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah, Greg, we're going to have to cut to this one. Go to the middle camera. My Christmas gifts there, right? That would be on, let's see, camera right would be a Gibson Les Paul. It actually looks like a Slash model because it's got the zebra pickups. And on the left, we've got a Fender Telecaster, and that's kind of like a Keith Richards Telecaster because it's got a humbucker picker and then pickup in the neck position and the single coil. So that was my Christmas gift. Apparently, there's one more coming, which I look forward to. But these are my Christmas gifts from Brad. Brad, thank you very much.
Detail is insane. Really beautiful.
I love them. They will always be on display here at the agency. So thank you very much. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Okay. Despite what people might be thinking, hang on one second. Let me give you a little. Hold on. We're gonna just do a little.
Oh man, this guy. Here we go.
Gotta be hospitality first.
The wine is great, though. By the way, thank you.
I'm glad you enjoy it. Or you are enjoying it.
Salud.
Salud.
There we go.
Zdravia.
What does that mean?
Zdravia. You've heard Nazdarovia.
Zdravia.
Nazdarovia is like Russian, but apparently Zdravia is a little bit more friendly way of saying Nazdarovia, which is like to your health.
Oh, I like it.
Mm-hmm. So despite the fact that we've spent the first... holy shit. Now, the confidence monitor was set at 50 minutes, so let's see. We are 30 minutes in. We're half an hour in.
Look at that.
Despite the fact that we spent the first 30 minutes talking about watches, that's not what we were here to talk about.
Okay.
And we may have, kind of covered a lot of the topic even before we started the podcast.
Okay.
You've been here now for 4.5 hours. Where I've held you hostage.
It's been great, man. I needed this.
And eaten.
It's been a hell of a year, but...
Oh, tell me about it, brother. Tell me about it. But the reason why I wanted to have you back on the podcast, because this is round 2 for you, Mr. John Saunders.
Yes, sir.
Is I wanted to talk to you about NFTs, crypto, and blockchain, because you're a tech guy. You've got a tech company. And, you've been kind of geeking out on this stuff for a long time. In fact, as our good friend George Magda mentioned to me recently, you guys were talking about this back in, 2013. And in typical Chris Herman fashion, I was probably like, whatever. Where's the scripts for this client, And so here we are in 2021, almost 2022.
Wow, time flies.
And I, as I mentioned to you earlier, have really been bitten by the crypto blockchain NFT bug. And as I've said in previous podcasts, I'm still in the information gathering stage, the knowledge absorption stage. So I'm not trying to present myself as anybody else than a person who's interested in learning more. But here we are. You have already done your first NFT drop. So you've had the ability to figure it out. And you only dove in about 3 months ago. So you moved quick, right?
Yeah.
You moved quick. You made something happen. You put it together. You generated some revenue in the form of Ethereum.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
Where do we jump in here? Because this is...
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, and I've talked a lot of shit about watches, so I'm going to volley it back to you. I'm going to let you lead us into this one.
With NFTs, a lot of folks are just trying to get into the space, and they're like, well, what is it? How do I get involved? How do I get started? And Chris and I had the conversation of an hour ago on how people really need to think about, how you can get involved and not necessarily how can I make a quick dollar off this, but how to get involved so that you're prepared for the future. Because ultimately, NFTs are not going anywhere. I'm not out here trying to sell anything. I just want to be able to provide some value to the community and be able to give them information on what they need to start with. So first thing is, of course, YouTube University. That's where Chris and I started. Literally go to YouTube.
Who's this Chris you're talking about?
I know, right? I'm talking in like you're not on camera. Yeah, so it's really I started just looking on YouTube. And what are NFTs? NFTs explained, someone tell me what's going on. And it's literally like someone making a digital project, taking a red stamp that has their signature on it and stamping that specific project. And that's basically saying, hey, this is tied to the blockchain. This is the transaction. This is the receipt. And I own this piece of artwork. And so what people have been doing, Gary Vee and other people in the space, they've been taking advantage of this whole space by saying, okay, I'm creating these art pieces. These are one of a kind, one-offs, putting them on the platform, and then other individuals are able to go and buy that one-off piece. So the biggest thing with NFTs is you don't necessarily have to be a huge artist, but you do have to have a following, and you do have to create incentive behind your art. So one example is, and we talked about this, Beeple Crap. So that's his name on Instagram. But Beeple is a 3D animator. He's worked on huge projects. He has an Instagram page, and he's been creating artwork every day for like the last 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, one a days.
Exactly. So every day he releases this really cool piece of 3D art. He spends time on it, and he releases it on Instagram just as a release. So he's built up his audience. So when NFTs started to gain popularity 6 months, 8 months, almost a year ago, Beeple is like, you know what? Maybe I'll jump into NFTs after his friends pushed him. He jumps in and creates a collage of all of his work over the last 10 years. An investor goes in and buys his NFT or non-fungible token for, I think, 50 or 60 million. So someone dropped 60 million in Ethereum, purchased his piece of art, and now they own that piece of art. So basically they have his digital signature, which is basically a line of code on the blockchain that says he owns it. And now Beeple Crap is paid 60 million in cash.
Let me jump in there just again, because this is new for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are hearing this and they don't really get it. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. Of course, many of you have heard of cryptocurrency. You've heard of Bitcoin. And what is an NFT? It's essentially a piece of art or music or video that is unique, and it is the only one of its existence. Because a lot of people say, well, why digital art? NFTs are mostly digital art. Who's to say that somebody just couldn't take a picture or a screenshot of it and have it? And the answer is yes, you could. And as I've mentioned before, the example that is commonly used of is, you could take a photo of the Mona Lisa, but you don't own the Mona Lisa. And so the thing with NFTs is if you've created a particular piece of art and you upload it into one of the marketplaces, we'll use OpenSea as an example. You upload it. The process of uploading it into OpenSea is called minting, which is basically the process which says the blockchain recognizes that this piece of creativity has been uploaded. It is the only one of its kind. It belongs to John Saunders. And that is that. So the value, whether there is huge value or little value, is assigned to you because you are the one with that one item.
Exactly.
Again, it doesn't mean that somebody couldn't screenshot it and print it out and put it on their wall. Of course they could. But they couldn't sell it in the open market.
Exactly.
In the NFT world and generate any revenue from it because the blockchain would recognize that it was a copy of the original and therefore not valid.
Exactly. And what's the biggest piece or the biggest thing to think about or take note of with NFTs is the royalties. So let's say, Chris, you make a dope piece, you sell it for 1 Ethereum, you write, okay, for every time this sells, I'm going to get 5% royalties on this. So as the creator, you can set your royalty percentage. I usually suggest, 3, 5, 7%. And now anytime that piece of art resells, you get a percentage of every single sale in perpetuity, meaning forever. So 6 years down the road, let's say your art piece is worth 16 million and that resells, you're still getting that percentage.
That's what's so powerful about this. And I think that's what people don't really understand is that it gives creators 100% license over their work.
You gotta say that again, Chris. You gotta say it again.
It gives creators 100% license over their work. For years, musicians have been fucked by record companies because they created something. The record company said, we're going to sign a deal, which was always a one-sided deal that musicians didn't have the sophistication or the legal representation to understand. And so the record company ended up owning usually the rights to the song, the redistribution rights, and the artist got paid a piece of the royalties of the actual selling of the music. But in this case, it allows the artist to create and put their work on the open market, not only sell it for a lot of money, perhaps, but to be able to retain a piece of every transaction that happens down the road. That is so fundamentally powerful for creators that I don't think people are looking at. That people are looking at NFTs right now and saying, it's stupid, it's overpriced, somebody paid $2 million for Jack Dorsey's first tweet. Why? Okay, that's not the point. Right now we're seeing like a spaz out of interest and a spaz out of money going into this world. But what it really represents for creators is a way to create and be paid for their work without having a middleman, without having to lose control of their asset.
Exactly.
And that's why it's fucking powerful.
Facts. Damn, that can go on a billboard right there. I love it.
Boom. Let's put it on I-95.
100%. I mean, it's wild. You know, if you're an artist right now, if you're not embracing NFTs or at least learning more about it, you're missing the bag, because right now it's important. And I feel like, and also there's a lot of industries popping up around NFTs. You have companies that are releasing special LED like TV screens that you can put up in your house. Oh, I own this NFT, and now my NFT is playing on the wall, right? So
it's funny you say that, because I buy a lot of the gear for our office from B&H Photo.
Okay.
And I was recently looking, and Greg, we can talk about this later, but I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do in terms of video display while on the stage. And when I was looking at just like big screen monitors, there's almost like a new category of monitors. And when I say monitors, I'm talking like a big TV that are basic. It's almost like they call them display monitors or something, that are geared primarily towards presenting digital artwork. And it didn't click for me until just now. It's a
whole industry popping up,
right?
It's
like,
crazy.
And who says, why does? Don't get me wrong. Beautiful, like tangible, painted,
of course,
or sculpted,
of course,
artwork is amazing and will always have its place. But as we move into this digital world that will give creators more control, who's to say if you had a big, beautiful home and instead of paintings, you've got big monitors rotating your one-of-a-kind NFTs? Why is that any less beautiful or meaningful to the person looking at it?
And they're emulating the way a painting looks, this matte feel, a nice like kind of elevated paint. I mean, it's amazing what they're doing right now. You know what I mean? And it's just, there's so many industries popping up around NFTs that we just want to be part of the process, you know, be part of this growth, because at the end of the day, this is the next wave. It's Web 3.0.
Right. And not only do NFTs relate to the fact that, okay, so we just talked about, like, we live in South Florida. There's no shortage of big, gigantic, beautiful homes here, right? So many
a lot of white
those,
space, big,
right. So many of those homes have beautiful, tangible artwork. In the future, many of those homes will have beautiful, gigantic screens displaying artwork. But in the physical world, or let me re-say this, NFTs are not limited to the physical world, because as we move into the metaverse, what's not to say that you create your perfect meta environment where you're displaying your NFTs in that world, right? You can display them in the real world, you can display them in the metaverse, and certainly there's a never-ending stream of possible conversations about the metaverse, good and bad. But this technology, you can't take a physical painting and throw it up in the metaverse, but you can take an NFT and you can put it in your physical home.
It's a status.
You can put it in your meta home.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that have been, you know, this has been going on in the video game industry for a while, right? So you have a game, for example, like Fortnite. Fortnite is a popular online multiplayer game that a lot of these kids play, and they have something called skins. So in the game, you can purchase different skins. So you can purchase different outfits, different shoes, using V-Bucks, which is virtual money from the game.
Right.
So if I play the game well, I spend money, you can see me in the game and know, okay, he spent 70 V-Bucks on the shoes, 150 V-Bucks on the shirt. This guy's either an amazing player or he's got a lot of money to spend to be able to upgrade his character. So it almost becomes, it's
back to the watch.
Exactly.
Status.
Exactly. It ties exactly into that. It's all about status. So you have the metaverse where you have Snoop Dogg who purchases a plot of land in the metaverse for 1.2 million. Now everyone around him, now he's increased the property value, right? So the digital property value has now increased. Now people are paying top dollar to be able to buy houses around him. So you're creating this virtual landscape of, okay, I know that he bought this house for 1.2. That means that this is going to be a luxury area. It's crazy how it emulates everything that's going on in the real world.
It's amazing. How many people, what percentage of the U.S. or world population doesn't even realize that Snoop Dogg spent $1.2 million, right? Which I don't want to I don't want to negate. In the world of wealth, 1.2 is not a lot of money anymore, right? It's a lot of money to me. 1.2, fuck yeah, roll it in, right? But for people who are really wealthy, $1.2 million is, they can sneeze at that.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he spent $1.2 million for essentially code, right? Like a snippet of code that says, this area in the metaverse is my domain. So when people go into the metaverse, they can go to that neighborhood and they're like, there's Snoop's fucking house. Yeah. That's where Snoop lives in the metaverse.
Yeah.
And I don't think that most people can't even wrap their heads around that, but that's where this is headed. You look at brands literally staking claims on streets saying, this is going to be the next Rodeo Drive.
Exactly.
And we want to be there.
Exactly.
Because there's going to be a significant portion of the population that for good or bad recognizes that they can live a better life in the metaverse than they can in the real world.
And now you're transitioning into the scary part, right?
Yes.
Because now I'm a big sci-fi guy, so Ready Player One, all these classic kind of sci-fi films where people plug in, and even The Matrix.
Yes.
In The Matrix, you're living this lifestyle that you want. There was a character in The Matrix, I forgot his name, but he left The Matrix. They're in the real world, and he's like, "Listen, I need to go back. Like, ignorance is bliss."
Oh yeah, the guy he's eating a steak, he's drinking wine. Exactly. He's like, I put me back. I'm done.
If you don't know it's not real, is it fake?
Right.
It's that whole existential thing. But going to the metaverse, it could get to the point where the metaverse is a better experience than your real life. So how do we know when we reach that threshold where we're like, you know what, we need to really dial this back? Or at that point, is it too late?
See now I'm gonna throw like a million things at you that we can't even possibly discuss all in one conversation. No, we could. Actually, we could. It'd be hours. Okay. So here's some things to think about. I don't know the number, but what percentage of the population, U.S. population, is obese? It's a large number.
It's got to be. There's 8 billion people on Earth.
Right.
380 million Americans.
340 million Americans. So that there's a significant portion, and I'm not saying obesity is the driving factor for perhaps wanting to live a new life in the metaverse, but let's just say that there is a large population of disaffected humans who will have the opportunity to start anew in this online world where they can create how they look, they can create how they dress, they can create something that is more in line with how they see themselves as their spirit and soul, not how they are physically represented within their physical body. And so you've got that. That's very fucking real. That's what's scary to me about it, is that, okay, there will be a large population of people on this planet who will live a better life in the metaverse than they will in real life. Now, what will they need to do that? Are they going to need a car? No. Are they going to need a big house? No. They're going to need, for lack of better terminology, a little pod that they can live in, not much different than what they were strapped into in the Matrix. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be bolted down their spine, but it does mean that people will be able to live in very small places and through technology be able to live and interact with humans in a far more creative way and a far more pleasing way. Because at the end of the day, the things that people receive and feel, it's dopamine, right? Like human interaction, love, acceptance, affection. It triggers dopamine in the brain. So why does that have to happen in the real world? If it can happen in a fake world where it doesn't matter, at the end of the day, these people are just a soul inside of a vessel, inside of a digital vessel. We're souls inside of a vessel, right? They're just taking it one step further. They're recreating their vessel in this new world, right? So why do they need a big place to live?
They don't.
Why do they need a car? If everything they need can be delivered to them via Amazon, they don't need to go out.
Amazon, Instacart, DoorDash.
Right?
Uber.
Everything can come right here. Now, I'm not saying this is happening, but just watch how the world is naturally trending. Is it strange to you that we've gone through a pandemic that has forced people to be inside and or reallocate how they spend their time interacting with the world and being less engaged at the same time that this technology starts to take hold?
That's a good point.
Right? Are we not being taught, trained, and or possibly conditioned to say, I can live my life inside my four little walls. I can have everything delivered to me. Oh my God, and here comes this thing that allows me to live this meaningful and significant life. Okay, why is this all happening at the same time? I'm not trying to be a conspiracy nut. I'm just trying to say, look at what's happening, whether it is intentional or not intentional. It's all kind of happening at the same time right now. And it is serving humans up to possibly be way more ready for this type of technology.
It's a good point. And it, it leads to the next thing that I think about is right now, the metaverse, Web 3.0, it's for the most part, it's decentralized, right? There's no big companies kind of running all this. But a lot of these big conglomerates and these big companies are trying to transition to that, right? So Facebook renaming their business or their company, the
holding company,
the holding company is Meta, right? So they want to be known as, we're the metaverse. The metaverse is Facebook, not this is a decentralized location where you can go and you can enjoy things. No, we're the metaverse. Facebook is a metaverse. So if they create their own metaverse and they already have 2 billion users that can segue into that platform, they pretty much at that point own the metaverse, right? So they can control and they can manipulate and they can create content based on what they see fit. And the biggest thing for me is really thinking about, okay, if we're segueing into Web 3.0 and it's decentralized, if all these companies are moving and segueing at the same time, is it really decentralized, or are we still being controlled by the the platform the platform that's been created? Because for me, I'm thinking about the future, right? We both have kids. When Logan and your children are 17, 18, are they going to be plugged into the metaverse and living their life based on this digital landscape? And then the last piece is, if you don't have money, will you even be able to do anything on these platforms? Will it basically be the same thing that we have now? Because a lot of times, if it's decentralized, it's not really monetary, but if it's centralized and these companies run these different parts of the metaverse, how will people that don't have money be able to be involved in decision making, updating their avatar? It's basically you're living the same life that you're leading now. So it's crazy stuff. It's great and amazing, but at the same time, it's scary,
Well, what you're alluding to, in my opinion, it's like the opposite of peeling away an onion, one layer after another layer after another layer. Human nature.
Record this, by the way.
We're recording the whole thing.
Oh no.
You just want to.
I got to get it for my time capsule.
Yeah, you want a special angle on it. So, okay. Human nature is solidly established. And what do I mean by that? Last summer, during the pandemic, I rode my bike a lot. And everything that I listened to while I was riding was world history. I listened to the history of Scotland, the history of Germany, the history of France. I listened to the history of just about everything.
Where do you listen to that? On like a podcast?
It's on YouTube. There's a channel called like Fire. I'll tell you later.
Okay, I'll follow it.
No, hold on. For our listeners, let me just share it with you right now.
I would love to hear that.
Okay, so I think it's called Fire of Learning, but just bear with me. Oh, I'm on airplane mode. Hold on. I turned it off because I don't want the government listening. Because I'm fucking paranoid because I know I think some crazy shit. Okay, so hang on. Oh, Grape Seekers texting me some stuff. Hold on.
This is a great podcast, by the way.
I agree. It is a great podcast. Okay, so it is called there's one channel called History Time. History Time.
Let me make sure I take this in my notes in my Notion doc right here.
History Time.
Okay.
And let me find what's the other one. Oh man, there's all my wife's Russian stuff. Watchbox Studios. See, this is why I can talk about Theo and Harris. I can give
you just have to send me like your top 10 like YouTube channels.
I can give you the watch blogs as well too. Fire of Learning. There's two of them.
Learning.
Fire of Learning and History Time. Okay, so I was listening nonstop to these videos. History of every country, you know, it didn't matter. Japan, China, fuck it. And John, I can tell you after listening to probably 40 or 50, 60 hours of videos about the world history of different nations, it's all the same thing. This one rises to power. This one battles that one. This one has the resources. This one wants the resources. This one fights that one. Somebody ends up with the resources. Somebody ends up in power. Somebody comes along.
It's like a circle.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Wow.
And so what that led me to believe was this. Human nature is human nature. People want control. They want to be in power. There's always going to be somebody who wants to be in control. And historically, control, or the person being in control, has been the person being in control of a nation. President of the United States, Chairman Xi Jinping, China, Vladimir Putin. You know, you have all these power players that are leading their, you know, and ultimately they are the prime person in power. Is it not logical and or reasonable to think that that Hitler was not the only one who wanted to be in control of the world? It's foolish to think otherwise. Of course, right now there is somebody on the planet that wants to be in control of everything. They think their way is the way, and they've got the pathway.
I agree.
And that will never, ever, ever stop. I think that was true of Augustus Caesar. I think that was true every stop along history. There has been somebody who thought, I can control the whole thing. We just haven't, from a nation's perspective, gotten to the point where somebody was able to pull it off. Now, does that mean that someone or some organization hasn't pulled it off behind the scenes? Because quite frankly, at some point in time, somebody had to realize, if I am the fucking front and center guy trying to control the whole world, somebody's coming to take me down. Mm-hmm. But if I am the secret, quiet, behind the scenes puppeteer, Perhaps that's a better way for me to accomplish my goals. I'm saying this as a connection to what you just said, which is ultimately Web 3.0, cryptocurrency, NFTs, all of this is supposed to be creating a essentially an egalitarian, free way for everybody to interact with no oversight, no corporate and or national control. That is what Satoshi Nakamoto or whatever his Nakamoto, whatever his name is, that's perhaps the way he created this.
Which we'll probably never know who
right.
it really is.
But did he create that because he was like a Zen-like Buddhist who just wanted to create the ultimate platform? Or was he so fucking smart that he created something that everybody believes is one thing that ultimately he or somebody else could control? And so I guess what I'm saying is don't go into this world thinking that this is some financial or creative utopian world, right? Somebody's going to find a way to benefit.
Exactly.
And to benefit proportionately or disproportionately to others. That's human nature. Don't be upset by that.
Just try to get involved.
Get your fucking piece.
Exactly.
Get your fucking piece before somebody else does. And that doesn't mean that you're a selfish motherfucker. It means get your piece so that you can take care of your own.
Exactly. And stay relevant.
The world. That's the
and
world.
Not get left behind. Exactly. It's true.
That's the world. That's not white. That's not black. That's not Hispanic. That's not gay. That's not straight. That is human beings being human beings.
Yeah.
And over the course of history, human beings have proven to be creatures that are seeking control, seeking wealth, seeking self-interest. And we've got to stop shitting on that as if that's bad. Let's stop judging it. The
only way you can help others, my biggest thing that I've realized in the last few years is the only way you can truly help others is you have to have money. You do. You have to have money and you have to have influence to be able to help others. At the end of the day, that's it. You can have time and time is great, but you need money to make it happen.
Well, I'm going to counter you just for a second, only from the perspective of you can help others with your knowledge and your love.
Absolutely.
And your guidance, right? You can help your children. Like, even if you had no money, you could still help your children be better people.
That is true.
By what you what you teach them.
I agree.
However,
100%.
To your point, I can't help my employees if I don't have revenue coming in to employ them.
Facts.
Right?
Facts.
I can't help the people working in my building where I live if I don't have cash to tip them and to buy them holiday gifts and to show my appreciation. You do need to succeed. Success is based on competency, and competency comes from a combination of knowledge, skill, and effort.
Yeah.
And that is undeniable. That's not today's news. That's 1,000 years news. That's 2,000 years news. But let's stop thinking that humans are something that we're not. And let's recognize that we are what we are. We are incredibly flawed.
Facts.
We have a lot to learn, but we've contributed a lot of positivity. But to think and look at Bitcoin, like Bitcoin represents a serious opportunity. It represents a serious shift in how money is acquired.
And that's what I think people are like not thinking about. They're thinking about, oh, this is just another crazy fad. It's
I
what
thought
Bitcoin
that.
represents.
It didn't even enter my realm.
It's what Bitcoin represents as a whole. You know, when you think of cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is basic. It's basically the catalyst, right? It's the genesis of cryptocurrency. It's the gold
standard.
Exactly. It might not be the best coin, but it's the most popular, and it's the one that has the largest backing from the global community. So at the end of the day, what Bitcoin represents is the next level in financial literacy, and the next level of financial competence, and the next level of financial access. Because people in third world countries can be able to take out a mobile phone and be able to trade and conduct transactions without having a checking account.
I think people don't realize that you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. I think that's, like Bitcoin today is trading for $48,000 or $49,000 a coin, right? So people look at Bitcoin now and they're like, I missed the boat. No, you can buy a Satoshi, which is a share of a Bitcoin, right?
Exactly.
Anybody can get into this right now. And that's why the evangelists are like, this is the greatest opportunity to redistribute wealth. Fuck taxation programs. Don't tax the rich. Fuck that shit. I'm sorry, I'm just speaking out of turn here. But
no,
there are people like anybody on the planet right now can get in and be like, listen, I got $250. Just put it in.
Yeah.
That could turn into a lot of money over time. It may not. But the point is it is accessible to anybody.
Exactly.
With the most basic connection to an internet and a mobile device.
Exactly. And you think about the last 20 years in regards to finance, right? If you wanted to trade a stock, this is before Robinhood. You had to go in, you had to say, okay, do I want to pay market price? Do I want to pay, how am I going to purchase the stock? Okay, now I have to pay a percentage on each stock, right? Or each share. Oh, what stocks do I buy? Do I get a mutual fund? Do I get an individual stock? Do I get a REIT? What do I do? Now it's like, no, you can go and you can go onto a platform like Binance or Coinbase, and you can go in and you can purchase the cryptocurrency you need and trade for the funds and things that you need online. It's just a different world, with before. And I really do feel like there's a few apps that really change the trajectory of just financial literacy. You have Coinbase, but then you also have Robinhood. And I feel like Robinhood made it really accessible and easy for people to be able to trade stocks without a huge kind of difficult understanding of, okay, how do stocks work? Oh, I can go in and I can buy 2 shares of Nike and it's free. Of course it's not truly free, but you can go in and you can purchase 2 stock shares, or you can purchase 2 shares of Nike and be able to have 2 shares in your portfolio. And now I own this piece of Nike and now I'm getting residuals or fees, but it's crazy.
Talk about you being a marketer, me being a marketer, Robinhood. What a name. Think about that. Like
Robinhood changed.
I never even thought about it until right now. What a great name!
Oh yeah,
it is. It may or may not be true, but it gives the perception because Robin Hood stole from the rich
and gave to the poor.
In lore and gave to the poor.
When it comes to Robin Hood and the web design and UI or UX or user interface and user, like just as a web designer, Robin Hood took Schwab, Vanguard, all these trade companies where you had to download. First of all, you had to trade stocks on your desktop. You couldn't do it on your phone. You couldn't do it mobile. You couldn't do it agile. Robinhood came out with their mobile app, really easy to use, simple, 3 steps to purchase a stock. Boom, now it's in my portfolio. They changed the whole trajectory, and they made it so that all these other stock trading companies didn't charge for you to purchase shares. Now I can go in and I can buy as many shares as I want, and I don't have to pay anything. So it just changed the whole game.
I didn't know that until just now.
Oh yeah. Before that, I mean, if you had a 401k or an IRA with these other companies, you had to pay every time you purchase shares. Mm-hmm. Robinhood changed that whole game, and now all these companies are like, oh, you know what? No, you don't. Because I had Schwab, and I was like, you know what? I might change over to Robinhood. 3 weeks later, I get an email. Oh, by the way, there's no fee on trading. Oh, okay. Bet. I'm staying with Schwab.
Yeah.
I've been with them for 13 years.
Trade, and which is now free too. Yeah.
Yeah, they changed the whole game.
It's amazing. It's just somebody comes in, disrupts, and changes it for everybody. But I there's always a way to make money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You heard about Robinhood's issues with.
What was the whole GameStop thing? Like
GameStop.
What happened?
That was crazy.
Yeah,
so
I don't know about it.
So Reddit, Reddit it's known as the front page of the internet. So think of it as like, anytime somebody posts content on a platform, they can post a blog, they can post an article, they can post anything that they want to talk about, and other individuals can go and upvote that article. So if you go in and you say, I like this article, you can upvote it, 100 other people can upvote it, and then it'll slowly trickle up, and you'll see it on the front page of Reddit. So with Reddit, they created these subreddits, which are specific rooms with people in them based on subjects. So they have like stock trading. So they had one like, hey guys, let's rally on GameStop. Everybody go buy GameStop. And it just became this huge rally. The stock increased insane. I mean, GameStop, wasn't doing anything. They weren't doing shit, to be honest. And
it was like the price went crazy. Like a fucking Radio Shack.
And so, people were buying, and then they tried to sell on Robinhood, and Robinhood was like, oh, y'all trying to sell too quick. Wait, hold on. And they literally stopped trading on the platform. And a lot of people left because they felt like they didn't have control. They felt like, we're still being controlled by this platform that's trying to limit us selling. And it really gave power back to the people. So it's almost like Web 3.0, decentralization, right? Where the people can rally and literally control the markets like these companies have been doing for decades. Oh, no, I'm good. Nope. Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
It's the holiday season.
I'm excited for this episode. I'm definitely sharing this 100. Look, we're in the red on the clock. Is the clock supposed to be red? Oh, it's 21. Okay.
Greg likes to try and limit me to this time. He knows better by now. He knows better by now. I feel like we're just warming up, but we're not going to do that to you, Greg. Don't worry. And if you want to come in, we're going to tap out here, so the wine is to be shared. John, it's a fascinating world. You grew up in New York. Not exactly a privileged right? Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Butter sandwiches growing up.
Butter's delicious.
Butter sandwiches.
But seriously, like your mom was a teacher, right?
Yeah.
I think your mom just put out a book, if I recall seeing your social media correctly.
She did.
You're doing a lot with what you've been provided with. You're doing a lot with what you're learning. You're doing a lot. You're doing a fucking lot, man. It's really great. It's great to have this conversation with you. It's great to be able, after all these years, to be able to have you come and hang out and talk shit and and
it is.
Awesome. Eat some food and drink some wine and just share. Look at me. I'm literally so.
By the way, the tacos were phenomenal. I mean,
God forbid this drop of wine doesn't get consumed off the table. What does that say about me? Waste not, want not, John. But just like, just to see how you've done, what we're able to talk about, it's fucking great. And I'm serious in terms of I will, however we want to do it together. It's an opportunity in time right now where the world is going to shift again. Most people don't realize it. It seems like it because we're already connected to it, so we're seeing the people that are doing it, and it can make you feel like, oh my God, I'm already behind. No. It's just this whole decentralized finance, the whole cryptocurrency, NFTs. What does that mean? We live in proximity of the great city of Miami. One of the Bitcoin capitals. The Bitcoin conference is coming here in January. We've got Miami Art Week, which this year was a lot about NFTs. There's a lot happening right here, so I hope that you'll, and I know that you will because we already talked about it, but I hope you'll join me in trying to figure out ways to just be involved in it. Like this to me, this is more fascinating than Google and Facebook, right? Like, here's a picture of my dick. Okay. Okay. This is like
it's really listen. It's my thing is first of all, you gave me the first chance in this industry when I was this kid just interning. So for me, I always felt like you were a forward-thinking individual. Like anytime we wanted to do like a digital,
you showed up
campaign,
in my shitty little fucking office with my little crew. You were wearing a nice light gray suit. You were fucking sharp.
JC Penney, baby.
It doesn't matter, dude. You fucking were ready. Everything about you said, I'm ready to fucking have a job and be serious about it. And that's and you followed through on that to every degree.
Yeah. And I always felt like you were you know, even with the agency, we would start, like, you know, no other agencies were doing Facebook ads. I was like, Chris, we got to do Facebook ads. Automotive industry, no one's doing it yet. Okay, go ahead, let's do it. What do you need? Okay, boom. So you were always a forward-thinking
You were sitting
individual.
up for a while. You were sitting up in front at that little fucking reception.
Oh, you remember that?
Here,
oh my God.
right over there.
Yep. I was updating the website. We had like a charity that we were doing. I was writing the code on the charity.
What was that? That was Brad Schaefer's charity. Sorry, Brad, but it was
like
called,
something race.
Yeah, the Amazing Race or
Yes.
something like that. Yep.
Wow. Yep. And then
remember our websites with that guy? We're with that guy Artem.
oh yeah.
I'm talking too much shit online. The Russian. They all crashed. I'll never forget when he's like, I'm going out of business. Everything's going down. I was like, what do you mean? Like, wait, what do you mean I don't have a website anymore?
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Good times though. Good times.
Yeah, but all here in this business, in this building, and here we are. Look at this crazy space.
Look at this, guys.
But that's where we need to, you know, that's where we need to have some events.
Yes.
Dude, nothing would make me happier than to sit there and to see you on stage talking about all this stuff. Bring some of your people up. Whoever it is, let's create a community here about marketing and blockchain and NFTs and creativity and Miami. And, you know, we'll get Magda to float in from time to time.
Yes.
You know, that's, you know, because that's
I'm
what
with
he
it.
does.
I'm with it.
Right.
We could even put 2, 3, boom, boom, boom frames of the Herman NFT coming soon. Be on the lookout.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's the right thing to do on the stage? I'm going to take the
We should have a one-day brainstorming session with the team. Just come up with ideas, concepts.
Let's book it.
All right.
No, not should. I hate the word should.
All right,
should means, yeah, we should.
No, we will.
But we're not going to.
We will.
Let's just do it. All right?
Yeah.
All right.
And the great thing is, everybody that's involved can get a nice royalty, get a nice piece. That's it. You know?
The royalty piece is cool.
It's insane. It's crazy. Perpetuity.
I'm a little toasty. We've had a good bit of wine today. I love it though.
This might be the most wine I've ever drank
All
in
right.
like my life. Cheers.
Love you, man.
Love you too, man.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Wait, what do we do? Just say bye?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Herman. I'm the host of the program On Deck. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think we're going to go ahead and sign out. Thank you to our sponsors.
We don't have any sponsors yet.
This is Fender guitar. We're happy to represent. You know, one of my dreams is to become a voice actor, right? Like, if you guys need any work, like, I'll do it pro bono.
Give me something.
I love it.
Give me something.
All right. What do you want me to do? What kind of voice do you need?
It doesn't matter. Just do whatever you're most comfortable
This
with.
is John Saunders coming live from Palm Tree, USA, and we're here to.
You sound like Dave Chappelle doing a white guy.
Oh, I can do like a legit white guy though. Alrighty, guys, we're here in Vermont, and yeah, we're sitting here having a conversation. There's a palm tree here with some white stones, a vase. I don't know where it's from, but I'd have to say, I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to have. I can do like a you know, kind of, hey, this is you know, we're here 12.
Come in the window. Come here.
They're probably like, get these guys out of here.
Yeah. No, with the Tito's. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brad Granda.
All right.
He's wearing
Brad
the
Granda,
Herman gear. He's got a mask.
He's looking quite cut
He's
right
got
now.
Tito's. He's ready to go. Probably
He's looking
playing some
amazing.
tennis. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, those look awesome, man.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
We'll see you. Good night.
Happy holidays.
It's 4
Can
o'clock.
you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about what was when Dave Chappelle played the white supremacist, the KKK guy? He was black.
He was blind?
He was blind. That's right.
That was
You know,
hilarious.
What a fucking great I'm
that
sorry, that's
bit
genius.
was like top tier.
It's just genius. It's
It really was.
fucking genius. Like, I hate black people. Like, only he would think of
Yeah, that
something
was great.
so funny. It's just so funny. So funny.
Nah, he's a genius.
Yeah,
he really is.
He is a genius, and he's a good dude. He's a good human being. You know.
Yes.
Anyway, that whole backlash, it's over. He's back on there doing his thing.
He's good.
Good for him.
I mean, he made $60 million off Netflix, so he's
Good for
and
him.
Netflix and Netflix hold that. They were like, listen, this is creative.
Good for them, and good
He
for
had
him.
creative freedom. That's it.
You know what? There's a difference between complete and total fuckery and just people having a good time making jokes and, whatever. Okay. Are we dragging this end out?
I thought we were done.
No, we're still.
I thought this was B-roll or something. Isn't that what you got?
No, there's no end until it's over. Right? Like when we get up, when we take the headphones
I'm trying to
off.
think if there was a one last question that I had.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, here's my question. Right?
Okay. All right.
What is the biggest disruption you see happening in 2022? It could be any industry.
Oh, yeah. Hate to go here, but I'm going to go. The biggest disruption in 2022, in my opinion, vaccine mandates.
Okay, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to disappear, or they're going to become more enforced?
The mayor. So Bill De Blasio, laid it out for New York. Mayor Lightfort. I should call it Light Fart. So I'm sorry. She should be called Mayor Lightfort. Just laid it out for Chicago. I think her name is Mayor Wu.
Okay.
In Boston. I think this is, in my opinion, this is not a good step for our country.
Okay.
And I think it is the most disrupting thing that we are going to experience next year. Is going to be vaccine mandates. I really do. I think that, it's
gonna be a crazy year.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I mean, what does it mean for people's freedom of choice to make decisions about themselves, to make decisions about what they feel is appropriate for their health, to make good decisions about what they think is right for them, when the state is saying that if you don't do this, you are now excluded from a large part of social interaction. And considering the fact, here we go. Considering the fact that a large portion of African Americans and Hispanics are vaccine reluctant as a result of historical mistreatment medically of their particular races, vaccine mandates not only are going to create a dual class of vaccinated and non-vaccinated and who can access what, but if a large portion of the unvaccinated are African American and or Hispanic American, and that class of individual is no longer permitted or granted access into regular everyday societal interactions, what does that say? What does that say in a world where we just had upheaval over what happened to George Floyd, when at the same time we might be saying disproportionately African Americans and or Hispanic Americans are no longer granted access to the most basic societal interactions in the form of dining out, going to a gym, going to a hospital, going to a theater, when a large portion of African Americans and or Hispanic Americans might be saying, we're not exactly comfortable with the vaccine because history has proved that you've experimented on us. Sorry to go there.
No,
you asked the question.
This is an important conversation.
And that is so to me, that's the biggest the disruption we could face in the year 2022 are the mandates and what it means and how it will be inherently flip-flopped from what the societal, social justice, and woke ideology is in regards to what will actually be carried out in the form of policy.
Yeah, that's a big pill to swallow. I think, there is a history of experimentation and issues, especially, in my culture, being a black male. I think that a lot of it will come down to education. I don't know if the resources we have now support that, but in a lot of ways, cultures, especially from the urban community, have been marginalized when it comes to access to vaccines, access to these different resources and things that they've provided. With everything being free, it's helpful, but again, there's still a reluctance from the urban community being like, okay, well, what's in this? What's happening? What's going on? Ultimately, what I would like to see is more people, especially in the urban community, accepting the the vaccine, the booster. That would be ultimately what I would look forward to. But again, it's a hard sell for our community, as a whole. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the solution would be for that. I feel like all I can do is be transparent in the way that I'm searching online and looking and researching and finding out what's going on and then making my own informed decision. But again, when it comes to a lot of times the urban community, a lot of times we're not exposed to the different things that the entire community is exposed to.
I think obviously as a non-member of the urban community, I have no idea what the potential internal reluctance might be to the medical community. That's not to say that over time, perhaps Anglo-Americans have not experienced any type of experimentation. I don't know, right? But it's clearly documented that it has happened in the African American community particularly, which I think is reprehensible. That being said, I think everybody would feel a lot better about the vaccine if the vaccine actually delivered on its initial promise, which was take the vaccine, you're not going to be infected, you're safe. Now, I've listened to countless hours of dialogue about this, and I will say that my takeaway from that is the vaccine has been very effective in helping reduce hospitalization, and it has been effective in reducing negative outcome. But it does not prevent you and or I from either getting COVID and or spreading COVID. So if that is the case, I'm curious as to why the unvaccinated should be excluded from, let's call it, regular participation in society, when thus far the science says the vaccine does not prevent us from getting COVID in the form of a breakthrough case or spreading it. If you are vaccinated and you can spread it, if you are vaccinated and you can get it, then why are you allowed to do things that those who are unvaccinated cannot? It's not a question as to whether, in my opinion, you chose or people choose or not to choose to be vaccinated. That's a personal decision. And I'm comfortable with either. I really am. Human liberty, human freedom, in my opinion, means you get to make the choice that you feel is best for you. Now, if the vaccine eradicated the virus, I'd feel a lot different. I'd be like, I mean, it clearly stops it. It clearly slows it down. Clearly, I'd feel different, but it doesn't. And so this breaking up of the classes, vaccinated, unvaccinated, to me suggests that there's something else going on, that there's an ulterior motive, there's a strategy, there's a thought process. And I'm not saying it's malicious. I'm saying I don't understand what it is. And I respect everybody's decision to make the decision that they feel is best for themselves and their family. 100%. No qualm there. But when we start breaking down and you ask the question, what do you think is the biggest disruption? To me, this is the biggest disruption. What is really going on behind the scenes on this that is causing there to be two classes? Okay. Yeah. We have racial disharmony, we have religious disharmony, and now we're going to create, for lack of better, vaccine disharmony. Yeah. Why?
It's one of those things where it's a difficult conversation to have, and it's a difficult situation, especially with what's going on right now and the culmination of, you know, you have Omicron now, which is a new variant, and it's running rampant. I don't know. I'm like you. I agree 100% that everyone should have their own decision in what they want to do in regards to themselves and their family. You know what I mean? And I think my biggest thought process behind it is I think they're trying to prevent more death overall, because I feel like, okay, like for example, I'm vaccinated. I just got a booster like 2 weeks ago. But I'm healthy. Even if I got COVID, I'd most likely be fine, right? And then I have cousins that had no pre-existing conditions die from COVID, or a friend or a family member, and it's like you see it firsthand, and it almost becomes like second nature when you're like, oh damn, they got COVID. How are they doing? Like, did they have any pre-existing conditions? What's going on? But ultimately, I think what they're trying to do is mitigate deaths, and that showing up on the U.S. like tally, like, oh, the U.S. had X amount of deaths. You know what I mean? And I think that they feel like with the vaccine, if you have the vaccine, yeah, you can get COVID, but you might not get it as bad. Which, you know, ultimately we don't know. You know, I feel like it's so fresh and so new. They're kind of like winging it, and they're kind of doing everything on the fly and kind of figuring out as they go. And it's just one of those situations where, I don't know. it's everyone is, like you said, everyone is doing the most with the information that they have to make an informed decision on what they want to do next. And it's just wild times.
And I appreciate you sharing that because, listen, I am not vaccinated. I've had COVID.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you just said that is in any way, shape, or form offensive or rattling to me, because I believe that at the core there is and there has to be a desire to save lives.
That's what I would hope.
You would hope,
yeah,
right? Of course you would hope. Now, but if that is the case, why is there such a reluctance to share other information that would be helpful? For example, the majority of people who have died from COVID have died because they had comorbidities. Obesity, heart disease, lung disease, things that people had already, that COVID was like it was the thing that pushed them over the cliff. And if you were to look at the people who died from 100% COVID, I think we would say that the majority would be reduced because most people who have died from COVID have had comorbidities. Okay. That doesn't mean don't protect the people with comorbidities. But why are we not talking about, in addition to the vaccine? I'm not against the vaccine. I'm not. But why are we not talking about the vaccine and healthy life decisions that improve your ability as a human to be able to withstand the attack?
Function, yeah.
Right? Why are we not doing that? And okay, so if one of the large comorbidities is obesity, and one of the large contributors to obesity is shitty food, well, I mean, I guess I'd be willing to bet that McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and Wendy's and Chick-fil-A have some say at the table just based on the size of the companies that they've built.
Wow.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No shade on them for building a successful company and wanting to maintain their company and wanting to maintain the thought process that people are free to choose to eat whatever they want. Yes, they are. But if choosing what they want to eat because it's affordable in lower income areas results in people being unhealthy and obese, and if being unhealthy and obese increases the possibility that somebody could be negatively affected by COVID, at some point in time somebody's got to just say this is right or this is wrong. And this is a debate that we will have for 100 years. In the meantime, all I can say is that I want everybody to be healthy and safe and feel that they are making the best decision for themselves and their family to live a healthy and productive life. If that means that you want to be unvaccinated, then be unvaccinated and own that choice. If you want to be vaccinated, then be vaccinated and own that choice. But back to your question of what's the biggest disruption, if we enter a world where we start being divided by this,
it could cause a big problem.
It's concerning to me. It's concerning to me because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make a good decision. Now, if the vaccine 100% eradicated, like you take the vaccine, You'll never get it again, and it stops it dead in tracks. Wouldn't even be a conversation. Be like, fucking line up.
That's it.
Where's my shot? Right? But it's not that now. It might be that in the future. It's not that now. And I want you to know that if for some reason we feel like this whole segment of the conversation doesn't need to be publicized.
Oh no, I'm good.
It doesn't need.
I love this.
It doesn't need to be. We can decide that. But the point is that I think humans need to, if we live in a society where freedom of choice. Yeah. Sorry, Greg. I'll open another bottle. We got you.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Just
I'm good.
Just a little bit.
Oh yeah, perfect.
I know, but you can't leave an empty glass.
Where's Greg? You got to get Greg a
glass.
Where is he?
But if you live in a society where we live in a free society, we live in a society where we have freedom of choice, we have freedom of the process to decide what is right for our lives, that the United States, we do. That's important. That is important. And I want people to feel free. Listen, if you want to go out in the world and wear a fucking bubble suit, wear a bubble suit.
Hey, for real.
If you want to go out in the world and not wear a mask, don't wear a mask, because we've found that none of these solutions, none of them work to the way that they were presented. That doesn't mean that over time.
So you don't think masks, if everyone wears masks and we're in a public, or not in a public place, but like a Publix, you don't think it works?
I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. So all I can go by is what I have listened to. Now, I try my very best to listen to experts from all positions.
Okay.
But I also try to listen to experts from non-mainstream media.
Okay.
And I listen to the left and to the right. In fact, the majority of the journalists, people I follow, are on the left, even though I tend to lean a little bit to the right. I just want to listen to people who are willing to say what I perceive to be the truth and not have it be shaded by a particular angle. And so in doing so, most of what I have listened to has suggested that no, the masks don't do a whole heck of a lot. There's a lot of leaking around the sides. They don't filter down to 1 micron. They filter down to 3 microns, and that they are not as effective as proposed to be. That's what I choose to believe, right? I could be wrong. I could wake up dead tomorrow.
No, we're not saying all that.
I hope not.
But no, I see.
But I've had COVID. I've had COVID. And
how was it? Like, was it?
It
mild?
was a long flu.
Yeah.
It was a long, tiring flu.
You're a healthy. Yeah, you're a healthy guy. I remember when you had it. I think
I had it in May,
like the week before. Yeah,
I had it in the beginning of May. For me, it was a long, tiring flu. For other people, it is.
I had it too. I was asymptomatic. My wife was asymptomatic. It's crazy because it's like you can be asymptomatic, and then on the other spectrum, you can die. So it's like one of those things where it's just a conundrum. You know what I mean? It's difficult to even.
Well, in recent conversations I've listened to, whether you die from COVID or whether you die from the vaccine, which plenty of people are dying from essentially the same thing, which is the spike protein's effect on the lungs. And there are plenty of people dying from the vaccine. You don't hear about it as much. Naturally, that's not good PR for the vaccine. And that's not to say the vaccine isn't effective. I mean, if you listen to one of the most recent Joe Rogan podcasts with Dr. James McKenna, I think everybody, regardless of how you feel about it, should listen to this podcast, because I've yet to hear a conversation that presented information in a non-biased way as this conversation did. 2 hours and 45 minutes. There's no bias. You don't walk away from it going, oh, I'm vaccinated and I shouldn't have been, or I'm not vaccinated and I should be. You just walk away from it with a wealth of knowledge about what has gone well and what has not gone well with the treatment of COVID. And one thing that is concerning is that not a single, according to Dr. James McCullough, if I am sourcing him correctly, not a single major medical institution in our country, Harvard Medical, Mount Sinai, you name it, not one of them has a formulated and detailed treatment plan for COVID. Not one. Everybody has just gone vaccine. But there are therapeutics that absolutely work in preventing people who are sick at home from ending in the hospital. But not a single major hospital organization in the country has any type of formalized plan as to how to prevent the symptoms becoming something that result in hospitalization. And nobody focused on it, because at a certain point in time, everybody just said, we need a vaccine. Okay. But there are treatments that are effective that are not being utilized for some reason. And that is like, that's frustrating to hear, because take the vaccine. Get vaccinated. Go get vaccinated. If you want to be vaccinated, if you think it's the right choice for you, get vaccinated. If you're older, if you are compromised, get vaccinated 100%. But at the same time, should we not be looking at therapeutics and treatments that help people who, if you are at home and you're like, I got COVID, shouldn't you be able to go to your doctor and have your doctor say, take this, and this, and that's going to really help your experience. It's going to help you get through this, even if you're vaccinated, right? Because there's breakthrough cases, and they call it breakthrough cases. You hear, it's not called COVID for people who are vaccinated. It's called breakthrough cases, right? It's a linguistic determination. I don't care. But if you have a breakthrough case, wouldn't it be nice to know that if you did this, and this, you can wrap it up within a day or two? And so I don't understand why that's not happening. I don't think that just sheer profitability is the reason, but who knows? But the point is that there's information out there that we can all be listening to regard any topic. We were talking about NFTs and blockchain and cryptocurrency. There's so much information out there.
So much.
Just absorb it. Make your own determination. Somebody might listen to everything about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the blockchain and NFTs, and they might say, you know what? I prefer the traditional markets. Great.
At least you took the time to
at least
study
you
it.
absorb the information. So just absorb the information and draw your own conclusion.
That's it.
That's all.
That's all you need to do.
That's all. That's it. Well, how do we...
This was awesome. Oh, we're rapping?
No. I mean, you know, we're, let's see. We're an hour over the 50 minutes that Greg already...
Oh, we're an hour over 50 minutes?
He's
oh,
going
my
like
God.
this. He's like, I'm done.
Let's do it.
I'm done.
All righty.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our broadcast for the evening. John, would you like to sign us out on the
Happy
podcast?
holidays to everyone out there nationwide. We're waving our virtual hands to you right now and saying thank you for listening to the Herman Agency, A+ podcast for everyone out there. Signing out, John D. Saunders III and Christopher Scott Herman
The first.
Yes, sir. Peace.
John, thanks, buddy.
No, of course.
It's been
This has been awesome.
Pleasure.
Likewise.
All right.
All right.
There we go.
There he is. Boop. Okay. All right.